to Freethinkers Fireside, where we put the human and humanness one cozy chat at a time. My name is Helen, also known as Hell's Bells, and I hope everybody is having a wonderful week. So tonight I have a really good friend of mine that I've known for several years from the atheist community of Boston. Let's say hi to John Roundabush. So hi, John.
Hey,
Hello.
there he is.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for
you.
coming on. I know we've been planning this for a while, and I'm just bad.
You're a bad girl. That's
so
what everybody likes you
I was
because
late for
you're a bad
the pre-show.
You're a bad person, and we love you for it. So
I know. Well, I'm good at being bad. So
you got to be good at something.
Why don't you tell all the wonderful people in YouTube land who you are, what you do, all that stuff.
All
the stuff.
I am currently retired. I retired from a major international bank, which I'm not going to advertise, and where I did a lot of government contracts. Also, before that I was what did I do before that? I did a lot of odd
you were
jobs.
in the service.
Right. Well, in the 1990s, I had been medically retired from the Navy, and I went up into the Sierra Nevada mountains and did gunfighting in a gunfighter group called the Boot Hill Gang, and also Civil War reenacting for the National Civil War Association. So I did a lot. Well, I got accused of living in the 19th century, which was probably pretty true because it was kind of like my entire life at that point. But before that, I was in the Navy for 12 years. I was an officer. I went to OCS in 1979, I guess it was. I was, well, no, it was 1980 because it was a year after I graduated. So I went in 1980. I started in September 3rd of 1980. I signed up, raised my right hand, and then later that month, I went to OCS, Officer Candidate School, for those of you who are not familiar. I actually passed, which was a shock to most of my friends and family. But matter of fact, shocking. A matter of fact, the company commander of my company in OCS is now a consultant on the Ukraine war here, Chuck Farr. So it's he's a security expert. He went on to become a Navy SEAL from OCS. So he did a lot of real life dealing with foreign affairs. So it was like I just caught his show just the other day, and I said, I got to figure out a way to contact him.
That's awesome.
But anyway, so I was in the Navy for 12 years as an officer. I got sick with multiple sclerosis, and the doctor said, you can't deploy. And this is at the start of Gulf War I. And we were in the Philippines, and I got dropped off in the Philippines and said, you can't go with us. And my ship took off for the Gulf, and I was the only one on that entire crew who had spent any time in the Gulf on my second ship during the Iran-Iraq War, and was the only one who had done formation steaming with a carrier. Formation steaming is where everybody is in a formation and they're going in a direction, which it can be very complex, and you have to keep your eye on certain things, but none of the officers, including the captain, had ever done it. And I'm sitting there going, I can't leave right now. I'm the only one who can do this as the operations officer. I'm the only one who can do this. But the admiral said differently. So and actually the doctors had the say on it. They tell
Oh my God! I read about my green screen up, and you can see my mess. My bed is
you
not
just
a mess
disappeared.
Right now.
Oh my God! I'm all alone.
Now I'm a professional.
Okay. Now we're professional.
Go ahead, keep going.
But anyway, so I was eventually diagnosed with multiple sclerosis a decade or so later. But at first, they just called it fibromyalgia because they didn't know what it was and let me go. And that's when I went up in the mountains and did my thing. And then I met Brian, and from day one, we haven't spent more than a couple of weeks apart. So we got married.
He's a very nice
2014.
man. I enjoyed meeting him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's very similar to Todd in some ways, but I didn't realize that. But
they're both quiet, and then they're just like we married two people that don't shut up. So
yeah. And that's basically the thing. He's but he's the love of my life and has been for 25 years now, and almost 26. Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay, but so I've been really lucky, fortunate. His job moved down to Florida from Massachusetts, where I'd met him, and there's a whole story about how I got to Massachusetts, but we don't need to go into that. It would take way too long for the show.
Way too long.
This is already taking too long, But yeah, so and then we moved to Florida and been here for most of that 25 years, all but the first 6 months of it. Yeah, we've been down here in Tampa area. We've lived in several places around Tampa in the last quarter century rather. It's sad when you get this old.
Well,
you start thinking not in decades, but quarter centuries.
Well, I've been down here 21 years, so I'm getting there. You
got 4 more years to go.
4 more years, and I can start thinking. And I'm 2 years away from 50, so it's all stuff you can think about.
You're still a baby.
So much fun.
You're such a baby. You're still young.
No, I don't feel it. I'm having hot flashes and hormonal shifts. It's so much fun right now.
I was going to say, geez,
it sucks. And then I found out. I was talking to my psychiatrist yesterday. I was just talking to her because we were adjusting my medication, and she goes, it's not going to stop after you go through menopause. And I was like, what? And she's like, you can get hot flashes up into your 80s. And I'm like, fuck, no, sucks.
Women
but
have
wine
it
is
the
not
worst.
a trigger, so that's good.
Really
that's good for me.
You guys have it the worst. It's awful.
Yeah,
The first the once a month thing, and when that finally gets over, then you have to worry about hot flashes and hormone changes until the day you die.
Yeah.
That's like, why? Who? If there were a God, which there isn't, I would have to sit there and say, why the fuck did you do that?
I don't listen. It's because I know, Andrew, I hate my therapist. I know it's good, honey. It's gonna be so much fun. Let me tell you. So much fun. I will tell my therapist.
Well, oddly enough, I saw my psychiatrist today, and he's adjusting my meds, and also possibly putting me on testosterone replacement. So I'm sitting there going, I wonder how that's going to affect everything.
My oldest just got their testosterone back because they're trans, and they went to Planned Parenthood and got their T because the original endocrinologist that was recommended by their psychiatrist doesn't like trans people, and could not say why they refused them. But somebody did some review looking online and found out that this particular endocrinologist is not like trans people. So I said, go to Planned Parenthood, and they immediately got their T. So, but I'm just saying that as far as testosterone, I think I get it as men get older. Like I'm on an estrogen replacement, and I'm on progesterone to help with the going through the change. It's not the best feeling. I'm still having hot flashes. The only difference is that I can sleep. Oh, they don't care because they don't have to say why they adjust. They don't have to say why they reject you. They can just say they won't take you. And because
that was a big shock to my psychiatrist when I told him, that the current administration has changed the rules in the VA to let them know that if they don't want to treat Democrats or other people, it's okay for them to say no. It's just that somebody else has to take up the slack, you know.
Okay, well, here's the thing, though. How are you going to know my political affiliation?
Yeah.
Unless, you know.
Well, I know, and it's just like, but with me though, the VA is the VA.
Yeah, I know.
You know, that's
bullshit. You know? Like, because you're a government, like you served your country, and you are an American citizen. You should be able to.
And they still don't know why I got sick. You know.
Yeah.
But you see, I didn't go through my entire military history, but I have been exposed to every known thing that the Navy had to offer. So it's like, you know, it could have been any one of those things. Or when I was traipsing around a few of the jungleized areas in Colombia when I was serving down there, I might have caught a virus. That big thing is to cue your immune system to start attacking you, you know, which
fine.
Lots of fun. We don't know. We don't know what causes it. It's not necessarily inherited because people get it who entire families.
Well, like the condition I have, transverse myelitis, it's basically your immune system attacks the myelin sheaths around your nerves, and I was partially paralyzed, and then I still have chronic pain, so that's fine.
Oh yeah.
So, and a lot of people get you become like, I was very lucky that I was able to get treatment so fast, and I recovered. It took a year, but I recovered. But I can't run. My proprioception sucks on this side of my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I live with my leg feeling like it's constantly numb. And occasionally the pain's so bad, it feels like somebody set my leg on fire. So there's that. But you know, it's compared to not being able to walk again, I'll take it.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah. Yeah. And the other thing is that they have some new meds for neural pain like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on lamotrigine, which is a tricky med, and you probably won't qualify because of all your other stuff going on. You know, it's a tricky med to start, and it's a tricky med to keep up. If you're gone off of it for 4 days, you have to retitrate yourself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's like in 4 days, if I wasn't on that, I would be curled up in a little ball screaming, basically. Yeah. But it brings my pain levels down to a 1 or 2. But the last time I was off the pain meds, it took 24 hours before I was in a lot of pain. And it took 48 hours before I was about ready to jump off a cliff. You know, it was like, I can't do this again. Because when I first got sick, it happened 4 or 5 times a week where I had extreme pain. And I just would literally, the eyes would roll back in my head and I'd just sit there and try and scream, but my throat wouldn't work. You know, it was like, and so after a couple of years of that,
right,
you know, you start getting really quite not in love with life. You know, so,
right.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So I know exactly what you're talking about, but it took them 15 years to find a good medicine like that.
I'm pretty stabilized. I have flare-ups, but I just have my medical marijuana for when I have the flare-ups. For the most part, I've cut red meat completely out of my diet, and that's really helped. And basically, because gabapentin worked very well. But I get the rare side effect that it makes me gain weight. And my doctor's like, well, we can't have you gaining weight because that will defeat the purpose of trying to manage your pain because it's going to put more strain on your body. And we don't need that. So it's a thing. Yeah.
What about Tegretol? Did they ever give you Tegretol?
They did not. No.
That's a tricky one too.
I've been on so many different medications that I'm just glad I don't have to be on.
I was on the carbamazepine, the Tegretol for 15 years.
Yeah.
But the thing was, and that's the one that really first got my pain levels down.
Yeah.
Gabapentin I'm allergic to, and so I couldn't do that one. But the Tegretol actually worked, and I was surprised. And then, but one of the things was when I got my third blood clot in my legs. I know we're talking medical shit.
We'll get to government stuff in a minute.
We'll get to the government stuff in a minute. But then I couldn't. I was on Coumadin, and and the carbamazepine's fine as long as you're on Coumadin. But Coumadin started messing with my capillaries. I had leaky capillaries and all this other shit, and I wanted off of it. Except for I couldn't go off of it unless I traded medications, because Tegretol has a side effect for just about everybody. It kind of puts your liver on high cycling. And
no.
And so what that does is it takes medicines out of your system before they can even work. Because that's what your liver does. It purifies.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't damage the liver. It's just the liver is working so hard on everything that some medications you just can't keep in your system long enough to have them do anything. So I had to change to Lamictal or lamotrigine, and that's worked the same way. Anyway, done with the metal shit.
Yeah, I was on Percocet for a while, and the withdrawal from that was absolutely horrid. Thank goodness I had a good support system, because it was, holy shit. I know why people buy street heroin. It is
or claim to be hooked on heroin so they can get the methadone.
Yeah, I know, right? But so ever since then, I've done pretty good with my pain management. I worked out today, that's why I was late for the pre-show, because I was working out. But so I've been doing okay right now. We'll just see.
For me, narcotics didn't do a damn thing.
My friend's like that. He can't, and also he's allergic to opiates. So he can't do any sort of when he has dental work done and stuff like that, he has to have it straight, because he's highly allergic to opiates. And I'm like, that sounds terrible.
It does, because when you need them, but they jacked me up on Demerol, and then
I love Demerol.
When they sent me home from the hospital on the one flare up,
I was working out, Scott. I was.
But I had this thing where they sent me home with Tylenol 4s, slightly stronger than Tylenol 3s, but the bottle was like this big. And on the thing, it didn't say how many to take. It just said take as needed.
Yeah.
And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. What the actual are you doing to me? And so what I did was it wouldn't touch it anyway, because it was a narcotic, and so my pain, I'd just be high on and in pain.
It is.
I'm
not gonna lie. When I'm in pain, and if I end up in the ER and they give me Dilaudid, that is the best drug. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that it's not, because I'm like, oh my God, the pain's gone. Thank you, Jesus that doesn't exist. Thank you so much. And then it wears
you're
off.
Supposed to hail Satan. Come on.
Hail Satan. Hail the drug gods. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the poppies.
Asclepius. Yeah. Whatever it is. Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to stop talking about medical stuff. We're going to talk about the topic you want to talk about, which was how do you have okay, you tell me. I had it in it.
I've always wondered what keeps people from violating their oaths when they take an oath of office, or when they take an oath to do something, and how that affects their actual behavior and whatnot. I've always been a rule follower to a fault. So I kind of I took oaths, and I still consider them binding, so it's and a lot of military people do. I took an oath, I'm obligated to do certain things to defend my country. I'm not just my country, but the oath is to the Constitution. And so, and to defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So in these current times, it becomes quite a moral dilemma for the current military
Thank you,
people.
Puck. That makes me feel really great. Thank you so much. Sorry, it was just a very nice compliment. So thank you, Puck.
Oh, Puck. I haven't talked to Puck in forever.
I know. I haven't talked to Puck. Puck, you need to come on at some point.
Probably. Yeah, you need to come on this show and maybe a few other shows.
Yeah,
wink,
you
wink.
Should do some shows. Certain shows that
Puck
you used to do. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
Yes, you.
I don't know. Do you have any
Puck.
blackmail? Do you have any blackmail material on Puck?
No.
See, I don't have any either.
No, I know really good people, so I don't have any shit to blackmail them on. And the stuff that I could, probably they would be like, "Oh no, that's fine."
That's fine. I don't care. Yeah. That's like, what Puck would make a joke out of it and say, "Please
Puck
do."
would be like, "You're gonna tell people I'm into kink? Oh, that's fine."
That's fine. Oh, well, let's tell them what kind of kink I'm into.
So anyway,
I might get some letters on that. Right?
So okay, so let's go back to oaths.
Yeah.
So so I think your perspective on oath taking is a little different than us civilians. I've taken oaths. I've broke some oaths. And I'm currently involved in some oaths where I'm not breaking them because I don't want to.
Well, you see, that's what brought up my my question to myself and for this show was, what actually is keeping people from breaking their oaths? And the only thing I could come up with would be if they had a sense of personal honor. In other words, like they would be betraying themselves if they broke their word. And it used to be a big thing when I was a kid. If you gave your word, you either did it or you died doing it, trying. That was it.
Right.
Even as a kid, if somebody made you swear to something, you were stuck. That was it. But and I just thought that nowadays, 4 generations later, literally, I'm a boomer, people. I am a boomer. Count them, So, but anyway, 4 or 5 generations later, and it doesn't seem to be a thing. It waded its way out, and probably with good reason, because there's no way to enforce an oath, as we're finding out now.
No, there's not.
Governmental oaths are not enforceable, and it was only enforceable through societal norms and societal, actions. Sometimes, like if you're in a court, you can perjure yourself. And that's the only time I think of when you take an oath that there's actual legal consequences for what you did.
Yeah.
Technically, government people can be impeached for breaking an oath. However, that's normally not what they're impeached for. They're impeached for the act they did that broke the oath. So it's like, I just like oaths go back. The oldest oath that I could find is on fragments of papyrus, and it was fragments of the Hippocratic Oath, which was written sometime between 600 and 300 BCE. And so it's like a long time ago.
That's a long time.
But there were and other civilizations that existed before that, and the Egyptian civilizations, but they had oaths, but they were to their own gods. And interestingly enough, I believe they were medical oaths. So it seems to have been primarily around the medical profession that these happened. And that happened between 300 BC in India and China as well, right all around the same time. At least that's as far back as we can trace it in history, in archaeology, because we haven't gotten anything else. The oldest actual script of the Hippocratic Oath is in the Vatican, the original paper, and it's from the 13th century, I think, 1200s, 11th century. So it's like, it's 1,000 years old, but it's not, that old, given that human beings have been on this planet and semi-civilized for at least 12,000 years, and we only go back 3 for that, the act of giving an oath. But there are oaths to other deities. Whatever deity you were doing it, they usually, like Asclepius was the Roman healer god, but they were usually to healer gods to ensure that you could do the healing bit. So it's interesting that that's the only thing I could find real quick. Real quick, in an hour or so searching around trying to read everything, a couple hours of it. But I find the history of oath taking fascinating. And back then, it was under fear of retribution of a god or gods. There usually was one god in the pantheon who was responsible for dealing with oath breakers. And I do know that in the Norse tradition, it was predominantly Tyr.
Yep.
And that in the Roman tradition, I can't pronounce the name. What was it? Let me find it real quick. I might not be able to. Nope. This is too long a paper on it. So I'll never find it again. But you might be able to.
Sancus.
Orcus,
or Simo. Singa was the god of trust, honesty, and oaths. His culture was one of the most ancient amongst Romans, probably derived from Umbrian influences. So, yeah.
Yeah, probably even went back to the Etruscans and others in that area.
Yeah, so this is, he's old.
He's old. And so, so when you start talking about people like the Romans, you're talking about what, 300 BC, something
Fair.
like that. Greeks, you go back. Greeks, you go back, even further. But it's all about retribution. They had a means of enforcing it, and that's my problem here: is that we have no means of enforcing it, and that when you become an atheist, I'm being optimistic. For the rest of the world, but when you become an atheist, even Justice Thomas said, well, non-Christians can't take oaths because they have nothing to take an oath on, like the Bible. Of course, that's patently false. But
what?
Oh yeah, he had some. There was a kerfuffle.
I will make a decades ago copy of the Lord of the Rings, and I will be like, yes. Thank you. This is sacred text.
You can go, my Einor,
don't say that to me.
And I don't know, Varda, may Varda, throw a star at me.
I will do an oath on the Demon Hunter World by Carl Sagan. Okay, I will do that.
Hey, now that's one I would do. I would do that myself. Yeah, I would definitely do the Carl Sagan one. That would be so much fun. And I could just see the reaction of
the Comet Teacher is also a great choice. Or the Joy of Sex. Or like the whole
my husband would probably do it on the joy of cooking. The joy of cooking would probably be what he would do.
Oh, you know what? The ethical slut. I would also do a vow on the ethical slut. So, don't you tell me, Lawrence Thomas, that I cannot take oaths on books and I will not uphold them and don't call certain things sacred. Don't you?
But, that's the thing is, our oaths.
Sacred
the question I have for everybody, and this is the people in the chat too, are oaths even necessary now? I mean, what are we doing with them? Why do we do that? It's tradition. But now that nobody's obeying them anyway, what purpose do they serve?
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing. Okay, so you're married to your husband. I'm married to my husband, and we took oaths when we got married. We said that we were like, hey, I'm not going to do certain things. I promise to honor and love you respect you and, stand by you, blah, blah, blah. Those are oaths. They're not to a deity or a government, but there are to other human beings.
Yeah, but I would have to say though that those with Brian and I, there weren't any oaths. The oaths were taken when we first met, not
okay.
And that was just promises. They weren't really oaths. It was just promises.
But okay, so what's the difference between an oath and a promise then?
An oath is generally a ceremonial action that is publicly acknowledging that you intend to do a certain thing. Whereas a promise could be anything. I promise not to bother you. So you're not going to do something. You're not taking an oath to do nothing. You have to, it has to be involved when I'm taking an oath to do something or to guard something or to support something. And that's an oath. A promise can be anything, promise writ large, oath can be a subset in your Venn diagram.
Okay. So, and I'm not arguing the point. I'm just clarifying. That an oath you kind of hold in a higher regard than just like you're making a promise. Like I promise not to cheat on you, or I promise not to cheat on my taxes.
If you're not cheating, you're not doing it right.
Okay, well that's fair. So, but in general, like I kind of say, okay, like I'm just gonna, because we live in a hellscape right now. I kind of like when someone in government takes an oath to uphold the Constitution, I kind of take them kind of seriously, because you're not making a promise to like an individual, you're making a promise to the whole idea of living in a democratic society and everything that we've built for 300 years and some change. So I kind of put you in that higher regard for that, versus like, hey, I promise not to, cheat on you, or I promise I don't consider it like the same sort of contract,
It's not.
and
I think you're right. I don't think it is the same kind of contract.
Yeah.
For me, it's more about what you intend and what you in the future, and so you're going into the future in a deliberate way to say, I shall accomplish this, and that I am doing this with not just intention, but will to do it.
Right.
And so there's a little bit more of an emotional involvement in it, or supposed to be anyway. Whether there are any more, I don't think so. I think that the people we have now who are breaking their oaths just find that oaths are basically unenforceable, and they're right. The culture that was going to enforce that has shifted to where the people they consider themselves responsible to will not hold them to account for anything.
Right.
So that to me that makes everybody involved in that little transaction complicit, so.
Right. And I think
I don't like oath breakers. I'm sorry.
I don't either.
Don't.
Well, like I kind of put you at like kind of a higher standard.
Yeah.
Versus like me as a lay person, or I don't have any power. The little power that I have maybe over, like I know I have cats. I don't have power over my cats. Like what am I talking about?
Nobody has power over their cats.
I don't have power over my cats. They have
cats
power
have
over me.
control over them.
Slave.
That's
Okay.
it. Yeah. Don't even make the cats are probably going.
And I was like, no, they're gods. Like they're little furry demon gods. That's what they are.
Furry demon guards. Yeah, and there is retribution from cats.
It is.
If you do something they don't like, they will get revenge.
So if you spend too long not scooping the litter box, they'll pee on your bed. They're like, listen, bitch. So
or you'll see them squatting in your best pair of shoes.
Yeah, they know. They're like,
they know what's going to jerk your chain the hardest. So they're very observant creatures.
They are a little too smart.
Too smart.
They're vengeful bitches.
Yeah, but I kind of like. I like my beagles, but
I know. I like dogs. I'm just a cat person, and but I do love a dog. I'm always like, it's your baby. I just don't want to have a dog because I don't want a toddler. I don't want a furry toddler.
I just don't. I can't have dogs because things like I would not tolerate being able to leave them alone or in a kennel when I
couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it. It's too hard on the animal. It's too hard on me because I would be I want to be on the phone with the dog the entire time I was.
I'm like, I love you. my best friend in New Hampshire, her dog is like a special needs dog and doesn't. I don't know what happened to Sadie, but that dog's been traumatized. Only likes even when I go visit, Sadie tolerates me, but it's not like a very friendly dog. And she cannot travel because you can't put her in a kennel. She can't leave her with anybody else because this dog will not adapt well. This dog has its routine, and she has this thing set up for her pupper. Sadie's a very pretty dog. And I'm like, when you come visit, and she's like, when Sadie dies, that's the only time I can visit. I cannot fly for a few days out of the state. And I'm like, fair,
Yeah,
that's the reality. And I admire her for that because that's a very big commitment. But she loves the fuck out of that dog. So I'm like, I get it.
Even nasty dogs deserve a little love in their life.
I know. Well, she's not a nasty dog. I think she was just a traumatized dog, and
most of nasty dogs are traumatized.
Not like men.
Unless they were trained to be nasty dogs, like some dogs. Mm-hmm. But usually it's trauma that does it.
It's trauma, yeah.
And learning to trust human beings again is a long process.
She did when I go visit, she just has her one bedroom and her and I share a bed, and the dog just kind of lays between us, and then and does like to give her pets, but they're it's more of a tolerant kind of thing. You're here, so. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to roll over and show you my belly,
went on a
but
sidebar
I'm
about
going to let you
and
touch
cats.
me.
Okay, so I'll bring it back around.
But anyway, my great consternation is that I really want to know, what would you replace oaths with? What would you consider? The chat can tell you. But what would you replace it with? Because you have to have some means of doing a short ceremony that kind of delineates, you are now responsible for this. It doesn't have to be something that it can be legally binding, which I'm surprised they don't have something like that now. A lot of laws do say that if you swore an oath to do this and you break your oath, then you're liable for, buying everybody an ice cream cone or something. I don't know what it is, but the idea is that, there has to be consequences, or else there's no compliance. So, and if you need compliance, like you do with people who are representing you, and they're not representing you, then you need some way of not just announcing your displeasure, but getting action done on your, some sort of action done. So, we all need to have consequences for our actions that involve other people.
You're talking about consequences. Can't stop sneezing.
Yeah, but I mean, but there has to be consequences of some sort. It doesn't have to be nasty or mean or ugly, but it has to be enough of a consequence to make people take their job seriously. In other words, you break your oath, like your oath is to the Constitution. You violate somebody's civil rights, that's violating the Constitution. You violate the Constitution, you have a minimum prison sentence of this. And no matter who you are, you have a minimum prison sentence of 28 days or however much it is. However much people think is appropriate for that kind of thing.
I agree. I think that
there's no consequences now.
Yeah, and I think that goodness, I'm gonna sneeze again. I'm sorry.
You're just allergic to me. That's all.
I'm allergic to consequences, apparently. Sorry. I'm so sexy right now. Anyway, blood sneezes and stuff in my and mucus in my nose. Woo, I'm hot. Anyway, so I think that living in the world that we live in now, especially because we live in a hellscape, we kind of took for granted the fact that even if it was not the best president, like Nixon, for example, terrible person, but he didn't he didn't take away people's civil liberties. He tried to do it covertly, making certain things like weed bad, and but he also didn't take away people's due process. So even though he was a piece of shit, there's levels of pieces of shit. So versus now where you've taken an oath where you're twice to uphold the Constitution, but you really didn't mean it.
Heritage Foundation doesn't believe in the Constitution at all, and they definitely don't believe in oaths.
Insane. When you were all over here going no, we base our whole legal system and everything on this document. So how you interpret it is very important. And for someone to be like, hey, nope, sorry, I'm not going to follow the thing that I said I was going to follow. What?
Now, there is constitutional remedies for that. It's called impeachment. But when you have both houses of Congress and the presidency and the judicial system locked up, there is no redress for that.
Right.
There's no other mechanism to get rid of people who are violating their oaths. There's no other mechanism in law to do that when the very interpreters of the law are breaking the law. How do you deal with that?
So as far as you mentioned the history, were there any other than deities, you might get some divine retribution? Okay, cool. Fine, but in any sort of civilization throughout time, was there consequences for people in positions of power if they said hey, I promise not to do, I'm making an oath not to do blah blah blah, I'm going to uphold the law, I'm going to do certain things for the people that I'm in charge of? Was there any sort of consequences for people in the past if they did break oaths, if they did violate the law? Not just legally,
I mean, but especially in the Christian world, in the Western civilization, they if you took an oath before God and broke your oath, they called that, at least in Celtic countries, they call that warloga, and it's Greek for breaking your oath, oath breaker. And warloga were banished out of the society into the woods. Most of them didn't survive very long without other people.
No, we don't do well on our own.
No. And back 1,000, 1,500 years ago, if you were not part of a group, part of a settlement, your chances of survival out in the wilds of the Europe, in the forests of Europe, are slim to none. The Chance brothers, slim and none. But
right.
But yeah, because they had wolves, they had bears, they had basically Yosemite with very ornery and angry predators out there. People wouldn't live, and even if you had weapons, which you weren't cast out with weapons, you couldn't survive. You couldn't do anything. A lot of these people did group together if there was a bunch of them, and they became what they call highwaymen, who would waylay people for their money and goods. But then you have, depending on what country you're in, you have, burgermeisters in Germany and that who were in charge of getting people together to go hunt these people down. But there's people in England, like the Sheriff of Nottingham. Sheriffs were appointed to do enforce the Lord's laws or the Lord's word. So,
bear.
Bear. I'll take the bear anyway.
Bear.
I've dealt with bears. I can, they're more rational than certain sycophants.
Certain aspects of society, like bear.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, what was that study they did where they said the question to women was, would you be more upset if you were walking down a trail and you saw a man or a bear?
It's always bear. Bear.
Always, they
bear.
They always said that they would be more anxious about. A lot of them said they were more anxious about the man.
Yeah, it's always bear. I want the bear. I want the bear over the man because I can't bears. I'm like, there's certain, like, I don't know, like, there's a random dude. Not great. Bears. I know what bear. Like, I'm like, is the bear going to eat me? Is the bear just crossing the path? Like, and then like,
does it
and
have
then
kids?
Depending on what type of bear,
if it has children, am I between them and their child?
Mm-hmm.
Get away from that situation.
Right. Maybe it's like I'm just going to exit.
Right.
And try to get as far away from the bear as possible. And probably maybe on some level, the bear is more afraid of me than I am of it. So that's another possibility. With a man, there's a whole bunch of other things that could happen. It'll all be, and it's not going to be great. Yeah.
Exactly. So, actually, I would be more afraid of the man too.
Yeah. Like some random dude you don't know, and you're walking in the forest. Like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Why are you here? And say, good question for a turnaround. Why are you here?
Right. To be like, I'm assuming that I'm like, on a hike.
Yeah.
If he's on a hiking gear, I'm going to have questions.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the history of a lot of things is to me, it seems like it doesn't apply anymore. I mean,
right.
The society has moved away from things that were very traditional, but also had no the agency that would enforce the compliance with laws is now neutered. So it's like you can't. The social pressures that used to mean something no longer do.
Right.
Because you can tune into whatever social society you want and one that agrees with you, and then you never get the embarrassment. If you're on a channel full of nudists and you're nude, you're not going to be embarrassed about it, right?
Right.
You're doing that at your high school graduation, you're probably a little embarrassed about that, so though some people wouldn't be. Some people probably do it on purpose. There was the whole era of the streaker. You remember that. So
yeah. Yeah, Matt Peck was in here earlier, and he always says streaks through chat. So that's the only thing I think of. And I'm going to be on his channel on Saturday. So, but it's one of those things, like, because people say it's like, people think like, religions, because religion is being broken down, and a lot of people like aren't adhering to Christian values. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, it's not really that, because the people that says we need to adhere to Christian values and we need to have some kind of standard aren't following the standard. And us weird, us queer atheists, like humanists, are going like, hey, I would like the standard back, please.
Yeah. Yeah,
because
it's
we kind of hold people accountable. We don't allow God to do it. We're like, you have to be accountable to other human beings. And if you're fucking up the system, you're betraying us as like a social contract.
Right.
You know,
And that's what
and
it
that's the
is.
thing
It's a
that's
social
fucked up.
contract that you're breaking. And that's just it. There's nobody who, when you break that social contract, who is going to cause a consequence to that.
Right.
Now, we know what happened during the French Revolution. There were consequences. We know what happened in the American Revolution. There were consequences. The Civil War, not many consequences, except for a lot of dead people on both sides. But the Reconstruction, where all the people responsible for that war were not punished.
Right.
They were just not able to vote, not able to hold office for a few years until the Reconstruction was revoked by Congress in order for them to get the president of their choice. It was a little bit of a bargaining. They bargained with that because the presidency was split between two candidates, Democrats and Republicans, as they existed back then. And they decided, I think 10 or 12 years after the war, that we won't have Reconstruction anymore if you give us our president. Okay. And so Reconstruction went away, and the age of Jim Crow came in. We'll sacrifice those black people, those ex-slaves. We'll sacrifice their lives, the quality of their lives, in order to have our president.
Right. And there's something very, it's fucked up. It's insidious and fucked up. And that's the thing that, like,
and they're doing it right now.
They keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. We have not.
The Justice Department on the guy who was convicted of Breonna Taylor's murder. He didn't fire the shot, but he was responsible for it, right? He was convicted by a jury unanimously, and the Justice Department said they'd like him to serve 1 day in prison. Why? Because, he's already been in prison for all this time, and basically time served, plus 3 months of supervision afterwards. I'm sitting there going, "Are you people out of your fucking minds?"
Right.
This is a Louisville, I can't even get into it. That's way too intense a topic for me to keep my cool. So I've got my fan. I'll just, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're just dealing with, I don't believe anyone is above the law. I know. I mean, that's silly of me.
Oh, silly.
I know. It's silly of me to think that, there has to be some kind of form of justice, no matter where you are in society, but apparently that's not something that, that's not something that people think should be a thing. That if you have a certain amount of money, if you have a certain amount of influence, if you have whatever it is,
look what's happening. We have a very good friend that's in the middle of that right now.
Yeah,
and no money to pursue justice in that case.
Yep, and it's fucked up because if you had to. I had another friend that went through something very similar and faced some shit because. Very similar. Luckily, it kind of worked out, but because they're a member of the goth community and an atheist and into kink, and that came out when they were fighting for custody, which was private information, but and it's like, well, why is that being considered? Well, it's because the people are trying to paint you a certain way. But versus, so for this is just for us, like, Tom, Dick, and Harry's, like, this is just the average. But you get someone that's in a position of power that, may have had 27 accusations of sexual assault and got accused and convicted of rape in a civil trial, and suddenly his rule is law, and it's just like, well, what's going on? What's going on?
Well, yeah, it's
confusing, but it's because of influence and power and money.
It's because there's a certain group of there's a certain cabal, call it the current deep state or whatever you want to do, and it's not a conspiracy.
No, it's not.
The Heritage Foundation has been working for a fascist takeover of this country since the 1940s.
Yep.
And they seriously backed Hitler. They seriously wanted something the same here. There's and they've been working behind the scenes, pretending to just be conservative. But and then you have these new oligarchs, the tech bros, and they're all in the ones that are in Peter Thiel's. And I don't mind outing him. By his own admission, would prefer a dictatorship of people that he could basically manipulate for his own good. And these super rich people, you're no longer human. You're a number. You're a statistic. You're not a voter. They don't want you to vote because if you vote, they could lose their power. They don't have to pay taxes now. They don't have to do a lot of shit now that they should be just to be a citizen, just to have the rights of a citizenship. They should have to pay their fair share of everything. That's the cost of citizenship. That's the cost of rule of law and having people actually enforce that law. You have to pay for those people, but they're people who dedicate their lives to enforcing the law and making sure it's evenly and equally enforced. Right. Except for today, they fired one prosecutor from the DOJ because they had something to do with prosecuting Epstein or something. It was like, it's just tragic. They are routing everybody out of the government that they don't like.
I just saw that.
And they know that when another administration comes in, they're going to still be there and they're going to be hard to get out. And they know that you're going to have the opposition is going to have to do the exact same thing and get rid of all of the maggots in government and start from scratch again. And so this is a 40-year project, which the earth may not have 40 years for civilization like ours.
No, because they're also about burning up the earth. Yeah. And deregulating. So I'm like, well, this is the end of humanity.
It's their final fuck you to the rest of the world is what it is.
Well, and like this is the thing too. Like, I don't know if it's like they have these religious beliefs and they want to see the apocalypse and they think that they just have to herald it in, or they're just a bunch of selfish motherfuckers. Probably a little bit of both.
A little bit of both, but also Christian religion is a death cult.
Yeah, it is. So
they want everybody to die so that they can go to heaven.
Right, because
Islam's the same way.
If you're a piece of shit, like if you have these ideas in your head, you're not a good person. So,
except for even in Islam,
of course you want to die.
Even in Islam, you have like another person we know who was raised Islamic in an Islamic country, who literally jumped out of a 3-story window before he turned 9 years old so he could go to paradise and not sin. Because if you do it before you're 9, it's before the age of volition in their eyes.
Right.
So you go to heaven. All children who died. And now you understand why children were used as bombs, strapping a bomb to them and having the children run up to the soldiers. Because they were just going to paradise. Imagine that.
How that works.
Snuffing out a child's life, the only life they have.
insane
that.
way of thinking. It's this is insanity. Like
Yeah, it
when you
is.
think this way. And I'm over here going like, hey, can we not have belief be the rule of law? Can we not have that? But apparently, and the thing is though, like what your point about like, the Islamic tradition, and then like people in our own country going like, well, they're extreme. I'm like, no, they're not. They're doing, I'm like, you're doing the
Doing the
exact
same
same thing. You're just following a different set of stupid rules. It's all stupid rules. You're just applying them differently.
And besides,
That's why like
if you're a biblical
literalist,
traditionalist, literalist, and you're only obeying 10 of those commandments, there are 603 of them, people.
right?
So at
Like
least
why?
that's the
I'm like,
number
why
I
do you,
was
I'm
given.
like, you don't have a beard? Why don't you have a beard?
Yeah. Are you wearing polyester cotton? Shame on
Yes.
you.
Did you plant? Did you plant pumpkins next to carrots? Like,
No,
yep. Shame on you.
don't do that.
And then they say,
Did you ever
well,
cut your
God didn't
hair?
mean that. I'm like, well, what did God mean?
Yeah.
Explain, please.
Explain. You can believe this part of it, but not this part of it when you
Like,
say
I want to
all
believe
of
in the
it's
part
true.
that makes me like I can be a terrible person to people that aren't like me. Like, I want that part, and I
Yeah.
want to believe that I'm super special and I'm going to go to this really great place because I'm an asshole, but I want to feel justified in being an asshole, and then
If I'm around all
I
the
get
other
rewarded.
assholes, incling that huge asshole God.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, okay, well, you go suck God's cock. You go do that. I'm gonna be over here going like, hey, I
And
think
not
you
in a
should have
good way.
healthcare.
Okay. You got to qualify that. You can suck and not in a good way. Use lots of teeth.
No, you're not doing. It's not a good time. This is like, it's not gonna be a good time. It's not. It's going to be non-consensual, and you're going to have to do it all the time, and you're going to have to swallow some bullshit. So like it's all be bad. Like, and if you don't do it well enough, you get an eternity of fire torture. So there you go. Like,
I just
like
never understood that crap.
And I think those like this is the thing like because of the circles we run in and the organization we volunteer for and like and dealing with people that believe that there is a sky daddy that's very concerned what you're doing with your genitals, very concerned about like whatever sexual because it's all sex. It has nothing to do with lying, and it has nothing to do with stealing. It has to do with sex. All of this is sex because
it's all
who
control
you're sleeping
of
with
sex,
determines what type of person you are. And also if you're going to have babies, that's important.
Yeah, you got to have babies, lots of them.
Got to have babies.
Yeah, lots of them, lots of kids.
Because
I'm populate the world.
I'm supposed to be a broodmare. I failed as a broodmare. I had 2 children and shut it all down.
Well, I failed as a father figure too.
I know you failed.
I failed bad. No kids.
No
Married
kids.
to a guy.
And you married a man. You fucked up.
I broke about
How
300 of those stupid commandments just by existing. So okay, whatever.
It's very good. Well, and I grew up Catholic, but like even when I grew up Catholic, it was an extreme. Like, it's very funny to me now because like I grew up like maybe because I grew up in New England. It was very liberal Catholic. Now, like the Catholics are jumping on the evangelical train because they're losing numbers and they want influence and they want power, and they don't have the same type of power, especially over here in the West, where it's all the evangelicals and Baptists and this new wave of Christianity. They have to get on a fucking board with that if they want to survive. Even though Catholics are Christians because they don't.
Rigid. They're still too rigid in their traditions because there are lots of priests going to these protests for immigrants because their doctrine is that you should always welcome immigrants with open arms. So they're out there protesting. Some of these people are pretty high up in the church. Yeah. They're protesting that part. But when it comes to other parts,
not gay people.
Not gay people. No.
Not queer people. We can't be not
No
trans
queers.
people.
Sorry, no queers. The only queers in this organization are priests. I'm
Our
sorry.
priests.
Yeah. And they're kind of kinky queer.
But we're quiet about that part.
Yeah.
Even though priests have been banging since like the Catholic Church and inception, priests be banging. So many popes have so many illegitimate children. Oh, so funny story. Since we're talking, I called my mom today, and she was like, "Hey, did you know?" She read an article that the Pope's brother lives in Port Charlotte, and she's like, "Did you hear this?" And I go, "No, Mom." And she's like, "It's kind of interesting. Like, don't you think it's kind of nice to have a Pope's?" I go, "No, Mom. I don't care if the Pope's brother lives in Port Charlotte. I don't care. Like, I don't know."
You didn't say, "Ah, damn, now I got to move again."
Yeah, no. I'm not gonna do that to my 93-year-old mom, but like my mom's super like my mom. I love my mom to pieces. My mom is she was the best. She is the best mom. I don't care, but she's super Catholic, and I'm just like, Mom, I don't. I didn't want to tell her I didn't care because I don't. And actually, I wish that the Pope's brother did not live in my town, but I just thought it was very cute.
I'm just upset that he lives in Florida at all.
Well, the thing is, though, is that like if he shows up at like a No Kings protest or something like that, and I meet him, I'll be like, "Okay, dude, like we can hang.
We can hang." Yeah.
You know, like I don't care. Like if you're on the right side of history, fine. I know nothing about this new pope. Do I care? Not really, because I think it's very silly. But he doesn't like Trump.
You know, if you're going to have a religion, if you're going to have a religion where your priests wear dresses, at least do it stylishly. You can't have trans people. At least get something stylish. You know,
the looks
the
are
vestments
not good.
they wear are just horrid. You know,
well, the thing is, John, is that if you're going to have a religion, you have to have a silly hat.
Yeah.
Like you know, like the Jews have the little
yarmulke,
the yarmulke, and I don't. Do people in Islam have silly hats? No, they don't have silly hats.
No,
no, it's just the Jews and the Christians have the silly hats.
The women have to keep their heads covered, but you know, just like in Orthodox Judaism, the women have to keep their heads covered. The men have their yarmulke. It's all a bunch of silly rules. Like I was on Jessica's channel last night, and we were talking about being formerly pagan, and I go, I didn't hold to Wicca because it had too many silly rules. Like I was like, this is a silly rule. I'm like, I don't understand why. What were you? I was an eclectic witch. Why?
Yeah,
because none of the groups
made me an eclectic witch, because I was like, Wicca has too many rules.
You know, I was kind of like that way too. I was in one coven, and that was it. When that broke up, nope.
I tried it. Like I met, like when I was like testing the waters of paganism, and I was trying to figure out, like, you know, what sect I wanted to try. Like the Wiccans, I was like, this is too much. I'm like, there's and like a couple of the people were kind of like low key cult people, like cult leaders, and I was like, this is not for me.
No.
And then I became an eclectic pagan. So that was a sidebar. So like bringing it back to what we're talking about, like I have a real sort of issue with people using religion as a way to justify the way that they're using the law, and also a justification for how they take oaths. Like we have certain people in government that want to put like 10 commandments in school, and they say, well, I made an oath to God. But I'm like, yeah, but you made an oath to an invisible deity, not to the people in your jurisdiction that voted you into power. And you're supposed to serve everybody in your jurisdiction, regardless of party. But guess what? Nope. You are playing favorites and doing favors, so this way you can gain more power. Governor, head of school board in Oklahoma. I forget his name right now because I know his name. I know who he is. I'm just blinking his name because he's an asshole. And
you don't keep assholes running around your brain, right?
I know. They spent. Listen, we do the nonprofits. There's a lot of assholes that live in my brain a lot of the time.
Actually, I'm going to be on next Wednesday.
Like I always say, the burden of too much education and being too well informed.
Yeah. I'll be on the nonprofits again very shortly. So, I'll be on for the 23rd. So I haven't even gotten the document yet. What's with that?
I don't know when I'm waiting for Cynthia to tell me when I'm on again. So I just wait for Cynthia and go, you're going to be on. Okay.
That's what I do. I say, they say, well,
just put me on the schedule.
Do you mind having 2 spots this month?
Yeah. No.
Whatever. 2, 3, 1, none. Fine.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
I'm just
put
like,
me in where you need
I'm fine. Me. I'm so terrible. I tried doing the social media. Like they were like, just make Jimmy before he took a break and came back. He was like, do YouTube. I tried. The ADHD in my life, like, please don't give me a task. I'm terrible at tasks. I know I barely engage with my own channel. So
how am I supposed to do this with everybody else? It's like,
yeah, I know. I'm like, oh no, like I'm terrible at doing things on my own. Like I keep telling myself I should make shorts to promote my channel, but I don't think I'm big enough, and 2, I'm fucking lazy. Like I just don't. I'm like, that's more work. The whole point.
I have a channel.
Having conversations. Nobody knows about it. I don't have to edit.
I have a subreddit too. Nobody knows about it, so.
Well, it's very funny.
To rant every once in a while.
I felt a little like Taylor, Drew's wife has her own channel, and they were talking about this other like Christian influencer that was just his interviews, and she was like, I feel like if you're just doing like interviews, it's a little lazy, and I was like, okay. I was like, damn, Taylor, call me out.
Well, no, but interviewing is a skill. People don't understand that.
Thank you, Mark. I'm not terrible. I'm just lazy. There's a difference.
But I mean, interviewing is work. People don't really realize that a lot of the time, but it is. Well, like my mother did interviews all the time.
Wonderful thing about like doing the podcast for recovering from religion for so long is that I got skills. This is a little bit more of a casual interview, but like I still ask questions and I want to know stuff. So
my mother always said, don't worry about a half-hour television interview show where you're the host. She says, don't worry about that. Think of 3 questions that you want to ask them. Okay.
I don't even have that. I just ask questions.
But when you get through all the introductions and all the things in the beginning of the show and things like that, runs 10 minutes maybe. So now you got 20 minutes. Oh, the end of the show is another 5 minutes. So now you got 15 minutes, 5 minutes per question, and you're done.
Right.
So it's like, and you don't have to worry about much, right?
but like I'm just naturally curious, so but okay, like to bring this back to what we were talking about, I'm going to be a professional. Look at this.
I'm not rare. So you go ahead.
But we're going to talk about we're talking about like why there is no accountability, because we hold oaths to, for lack of a better word, as sacred. Like if you promise you're making an oath to hold the Constitution. I kind of consider that a sacred thing, like because you're making a promise to the people that voted for you to do your job.
Yeah, you're making a sacred. You're making a contract with the entire
but there's
country.
No consequence for it, though. There's something very broken about that.
Yeah, it's like you're making a social contract with all of the United States when you're going to govern the entire thing, and so you can't play favorites. You can't do that. You can't engage in using the office for fundraising. Let me see how many of these. Never mind. I'm not going to go there. But you're supposed to not be able to use your office for political gain. You're supposed to just do your damn job. That's it. And nowadays, people are looking at the current administration thinks that whatever I can do is fair game as long as I can con my way out of it, and any repercussions for it. So that's going to be a real, how are we going to solve that once this is over? What are we going to do? What fixes are we going to put in place? What rules are we going to put in place to protect the rule of law? I don't know. I don't know what, at this point, since nothing's sacred, oaths aren't sacred, there's nothing sacred about the law. The law can be broken willy-nilly with no consequences because the Supreme Court is a bunch of sycophantic cucks. What are you going to do when it's all over to reinstitute the rule of law? How are you going to do that? How are you going to fix that?
We're basically going to be doing, Germany, just the past couple of decades, finally got to a point where they are a stable society again, but they're still dealing with that generational trauma and gap of what happened in the 1930s and 40s. And it takes a long time to recover, and I don't think people recognize that, because they're not historically literate. Where if
I was
you
a
have
history minor, but I'm not historically literate anymore because there's been 60 years of history.
Right.
I lived through, but I haven't been paying that much attention.
Well, I've lived through 48 years of history, and I have been through a lot of significant events. I'm kind of tired of living in unprecedented times. I miss living in boring times. I really miss that. Where the biggest scandal, it was Bill Clinton got his dick sucked and people are mad about it. I miss those days. I miss them. I miss them so much.
I remember when John Kennedy was saluting his father's casket as it went.
I know.
I was the same age at that point.
I remember when Reagan died. I remember
he was 5. I was 5. So
I hated Reagan, but Nancy Reagan, crying over her husband's coffin, it's still it hits. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. You're a terrible person, But I feel it. I remember that was because it was I think it was the first president's death that I had. I was watching. The funeral procession on television. And I was like, that's really sad. Hated Reagan's terrible. Reagan ruined everything. It's all his fault that we're in this hellscape.
He did his part.
Thank you.
He did his part to bring about the current situation.
Yeah. But I as another human being, I feel bad for Nancy Reagan and how she felt when her husband died. I do.
Yeah, she loved him very, very much.
They really loved each other. They did. They loved the fuck out of each other. So I get it.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that I have experienced that long-term commitment myself. And so I know what that feels like. Just thinking about the prospect of not being the first to die in this relationship is
Todd
terrifying to me.
Todd, I'm like, how do you? He's like, because I can't live without you, so I have to die first. And he's like, you'll be fine. You're the woman. And I was like, okay.
The answer to that is no. It's not okay. Because
I'll be able to handle it better. He's like. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I don't like the prospect of that. Sure. It's too much.
I don't think I would ever recover from that if that happened.
But
and unfortunately, he's 5 years older than me, so he's in his 70s now.
Yeah,
I'm 67. He's 72.
My dad passed away last year, and my mom's doing okay. She's 93. She's
93. She's done okay.
She's done okay. She was sad, obviously, she misses my father, but
how long were they married?
63 years.
63 years. Yeah.
Yeah, they married
my uncle was married to my aunt Eleanor for Uncle Bill was married to my Aunt Eleanor, I think, for 66 years, something like that. They got married when they
He's
were
married in
teenagers.
54. So
Yeah, they got married when they were teenagers.
56. Was it 56? I can't remember. They were together.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's up 60 plus. Like they were together forever. And like my parents, like they loved each other. Like they loved each other. Like this wasn't like, I'm just going to endure because you have to endure marriage. Like my parents, like my dad was the biggest defense of my mom. They had like the type of relationship me and Todd try to strive for, and also like his parents, they had like, you married your person that you're supposed to be with, which is like great. And it's sweet and wonderful. Great. But I'm going to bring this back to our conversation because we went on a sidebar because I was bitching about Reagan. But
it was a great pastime.
Oh yeah, I'd rather talk about this than talk about the shit show that we live in right now. I want to talk about positive relationships, but it's one of those things about like the sort of like you mentioned the Supreme Court all being sycophants, and because that was the goal of the Conservative Party and the here is to attack the Supreme Court, to not have
Federalist Society specifically,
not have, but even still there's fractures, there's certain things even within the court that they're not 100% agreeing on. So even still, like it's because like people are not as controllable as you think they are. Like we still have this, there's certain things in human beings that when push comes to shove, there's certain things they will not bend on. And even though they're like, even though like, they put a bunch of sycophants in there are still some things that are like, no, actually we can't do that.
Well, usually it's the ones who are super religious, like the Opus Dei member there. What's her name? Oh, never mind. I don't want to say it.
Mary Cohen Bryant.
Okay.
I did. I said it. Because I feel like she should be named because she's a terrible person, and I'm going to call her out. And if you ever watch this Mary Cohen Barrett,
But she voted with the Liberals now on 3 items. She voted with the Liberals on 4 to 5 decisions. She's the one who voted with the Liberals on 3 different occasions, and I think it was because of her extreme Catholicism that she did. Because like I said, there's certain things in the Catholic Church that you don't mess around with. Immigration's one, childbirth is another. There's certain political things that you're required to be on a certain side. So that's what I think when she.
So and that's the thing, because if you like if you have an evangelical on the Supreme Court versus a Catholic, like their ideologies are going to be different. It's the same God, but it's the way they interpret it. And then how do they interpret the law through that lens? It's going to be different. And this is why you will like trying like, yes, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Well, there's out of 9 members of the Supreme Court, 6 of them are Catholic. Just to say. It was a fait accompli that Roe was going to get overturned. When 6 of them are Catholics. You can't be a Catholic and support abortion.
Why? It's healthcare.
They used to, but 60 years ago they used to support it because there's no religious doctrine backing up.
No. But they made it. But the whole point with the evangelical right was to make abortion, because it's an emotional issue. Because if you can say like this abstract baby, and everybody cares about children, like you make it an emotional. It's not rational. Because if you talk to any pro-life person, anti-choice person, and you just lay out facts, they don't have an argument anymore, because they're basically like, do you think it's okay for women to be bleeding out in parking lots like they are right now because they're not getting access to care? And they go, no. And I'm like, well, that's what this did. And then they don't have an argument because I'm like, you can't say you're pro-life and be okay with women bleeding out in parking lots because they can't get access to reproductive care. It can't be both, because then you're a hypocrite, but the abstraction of lies they were told, like, women were using as a form of birth control, and we don't, but even if we did, that's still not a reason to take it away. Nobody wants to have surgery as a form of birth control, people. I'm sorry.
Not at all. It's not a pleasant experience.
It's not a pleasant experience. When I got my tubes tied, I had to have surgery. I had to be put to sleep, and I had to have a doctor come in and go into my fallopian tubes and seal them so I could not get pregnant.
Yeah.
Why would somebody go through all that?
Yeah. There's
just but my sexuality belongs to Todd. That's what I keep telling him. Like, you're the controller of my sexuality because you're the man.
Oh, jeez, don't say that.
That's the rules according to their weird book. So,
absolutely not. In prehistoric times, the women decided who they were going to mate.
I know, yeah, because we were the ones that had to carry the burden.
Right.
And
it's not just that. It's just that
very selective.
The women were very selective, and they said, "Well, that guy, he looks nice, but this guy brought me 3 deer and 2 rabbits.
Right.
So that one, he's going to feed my kids, right? So
yeah.
This guy hangs around all the time and tries to look pretty."
Yeah, like you're pruning. Yeah, you're pretty, but you got anything?
If you're preening, I'm not into
it. You're gonna let our species. You're not gonna feed our child. Our species is going to die. It's you're not being good to the tribe.
Yeah. So it's the thing of where women generally had the upper hand at first, and that's where we developed patriarchies when we started doing agriculture and other things, because now the workload split. See, women used to hunt. Women used to, they weren't hunter-gatherers. They were hunter-gatherers, but everybody in the tribe was a hunter-gatherer. They all hunted, they all gathered, they all shared the labor. There wasn't this biological split in who did what.
That they wouldn't, they used to, women used to carry their babies on their backs so they could run through forests, and be able to participate in the hunting rituals. Or they would track the paths where the game was going, ADHD. There's a theory that ADHD is a development of hunter-gatherer societies, because you have to be able to split attention and hyper focus on certain things, where things you kind of fall into the background, which I thought was very interesting. I was like, that's kind of an interesting theory.
Yeah, and how your brain functions as far as how we perceive things.
Yep.
Why having blue eyes makes you see in dim light better than brown eyes. Well, it is. It's a fact. That you can measure it, and they have, and they couldn't figure out why blue eyes evolved until they realized that post Ice Age Europe was a forest, a dense forest. Dim light, and they had to hunt in dim light.
I did not know that. That's an interesting fact. That's really cool.
Western hunter-gatherers that were based in Europe, up to the Urals, they developed blue eyes, and since it was an advantage to the hunters to have blue eyes, it took over there.
That's probably really cool. I didn't know that.
Probably over 30 or 40,000 years.
That's really cool. I did not know that. So that was a fun fact I learned. I love learning fun facts. I
don't even remember where I learned that.
That's really cool, though. It makes sense if you think about it.
I was looking up I was looking up why do people have blue eyes. That's why a long time ago, but that's what it was. I was looking it up, and I found a few papers.
I have green eyes, so I have a recessive gene. So
yeah. Well, green eyes are like blue eyes as far as
it's just
refraction.
It's just the way the cones, the pigmentation of my eyes are, but they're just.
Yeah, but lighter pigmentation you see better in dim light, but you see worse in bright light. So it's it's a trade-off, because it hurts. It hurts more when, at least it does for me. I have blue eyes and, well, grayish blue eyes.
Okay. Yeah, it does. It hurts me more if I'm in very bright light.
Yeah.
Like I get like a slight headache and
Yeah, me
stuff.
too. Yeah.
Versus
But Brian, who has brown eyes, he forgets his
like
sunglasses all the time.
we keep like very low light, like my dome light that I use here, I keep on a lower setting because it's if it's brighter, one, it washes me out and I don't look good. Second of all, I don't like it super bright, and like the new house we moved in has, like, I call it oppressive, like these very very bright lights that were kind of installed. We don't we turn like we try to keep, I use like candlelight or very low light in my home if it's not natural sunlight, because the bright light, I'm like, oh my god, I'm being oppressed. Like, it's too bright.
All those photons are keeping me down.
It's like Nazi lights. It's like
it's the vision of the light and the two arms coming out of it saying,
so, but like when we were talking,
that'd be a good sci-fi story, actually.
When we're talking about, like, so speaking of oppressive things like light, white people. Yeah. Like, it is a very weird thing about society. Like, for some reason, like we're going to have a dictatorship because this is something that apparently psychologically and socially that our people want to do. It's a weird thing about our species, which I find strange. And I was talking to when Elliot SR was on a couple of weeks ago. I said, I'm like, is it religion that, because like we were talking about oaths, and I think oaths are important. I think that if I promise, like if I make an oath to uphold like the Constitution or a document that I consider sacred, for lack of a better word, okay, I'm saying like, hey, I promise to uphold this and not be an asshole and like take care of people, as because you voted me into a position, I'm going to do the thing. That
I think it's very important for a lot of people, officials who aren't elected, like police officers, fire department people, first responders, doctors, nurses. I think it's important for us to have a way of reminding them what their job is and what it's not.
Right.
And if we can point to the oath they took, it's sort of like saying, you're being dishonorable. You're being a bad person because you're breaking your oath, which has some visceral kind of reaction to most people. You're calling them a liar.
Right. That's
it's not just that they're beating you up in the street, it's that they're now a liar as well. So,
well, like, the example I gave at the beginning where my kid, they were going to go to an endocrinologist. This endocrinologist refused them because they're trans. It's like, well, you're violating your Hippocratic oath. You're supposed to be providing care to people that need you for certain care, but because of your own personal politics, which you're a doctor, it should not matter what your personal politics are. You're supposed to provide care. You went to college and did all the work to become an endocrinologist.
Not an easy task.
Not easy.
Not easy at all.
No. So,
it's a specialty that's pretty difficult.
Politics, you are violating that oath. And that's some bullshit. Like, we can't force you to, like, treat someone, like, I wouldn't want to be treated by a bigot, but at the same time, though, it's like, but you went into medicine because you're supposed to provide care to people, medical care. That was the whole point.
Yeah. Has nothing
do all
to
the hard
do
work
with anything
really
other than medical care, full stop. That's it. It has nothing to do with, but except for medical care, full stop. That's it.
Yeah.
You can't deny people treatment. That's
apparently
ridiculous.
You can if
well, now they can do it in the VA if you're a Democrat,
which is disgusting.
They're not going to do it. Nobody in there, because they all took the Hippocratic oath as well. So which an oath or regulation? And that's one of the things I was talking about. What takes precedence? Your oath to do no harm, or your regulations that say to do harm. At what point do you have to say, my oath is more important? Which is my answer to that. And just like today was John Lewis Day, good trouble. If it gets me in good trouble, better, but someone wants to tell me to do something that's against my oath that is still valid. When you're an officer, you never are decommissioned.
Right.
You are retired maybe, but they can call you back at any time they want, even if you're medically retired like I am. If they need you for a particular thing, and I have certain specialties, XX23 is one of them, but that they needed because they have none, they could just call me on the phone and say, John, I don't care that you have these many medical issues and that you're over 65. Don't care. We need you. Come.
Right.
I say, just make sure you got a full-sized ambulance loaded with everything following around behind.
Right. Right. Because like I'll serve, I'll do my job, but
I'd go back. I'd go back in a heartbeat if I could get cured of everything I have.
Right. I'm sure.
I would go back in a heartbeat. I love.
Well, I mean, my attitude is like with veterans is that like you deserve everything, like everything. So like I'm like, yeah.
No,
I think the system's broken.
People look at me funny because
every single person that served, whether you served for a week or 50 years, one or the other, like you deserve all the things. All the things.
But one of the things about that is that there's all these technicalities about the law and the oaths and all that, and it's all very important. But I would go back in a heartbeat because I loved the holy fuck out of that job. I learned so much and I knew so much. And I became literally an expert in a lot of things that later in life didn't mean so much. But when I was doing them and being part of a crew and a team of people on a ship, part of a wardroom, absolutely the best time of my life. And people don't understand that because unless you've been there, unless your job is to drive a ship, a combat ship, you don't understand. You just can't understand it unless you've done it. And so it's like
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
But any Navy vets will probably understand what I'm saying. But if you've been,
I mean, like my dad was a military man. My son is a military man. I know plenty of people in the military.
How's he doing? Off topic.
He is working on base up in Fairfax, Alaska, and basically he because he has a very easy job. Trucks come in because they drive between the base and the airport, bring supplies. Supplies gets loaded onto a bunch of planes, and the trucks drive back. He inspects the trucks when they come back, make sure that they're in good repair. If he notices anything wrong, he reports it to the mechanic. That is his job right now, and doing drills. That's it. Yeah.
There's endless drills and training.
He's only his second year in. So, and he does not want to stay. He wants to go to college. He wants to go to college for history. So, he wants to study history and teach. That's what he wants to do. So, I'm like, cool. So
we took a lot of history classes, just because.
He's gonna do a Jimmy. He's gonna do a Jimmy Jr. Though Jimmy's still involved in the military, but he's gonna study a bunch of history and go do that. So,
it's a worthwhile major. I would tell him it's a worthwhile major. Stay in the military to do it because jobs for historians are few and far between unless you got a doctorate and you are good enough to get a position at a university.
Yeah, I don't know. That's his plan. I like right now, but he's 21. Like he's still kind of figuring it out.
His brain's not formed yet until he's 25.
No, but he's also really smart in like robotics and engineering. And I keep trying to push him towards that. I'm like, you want to do tech? Like go there. That's where
robotics,
all the money is.
Robotics is a field that is growing so fast now. He could make tons of money.
That's what I told him. I was like, do that. Because Like, don't do me where I have a psychology degree and I'm not doing shit with it because I didn't want to make money. I picked a degree that I'm very smart in, but not doing anything for me right now.
Not doing anything, but I'm smart in it.
Just a bunch of debt that I'm still like, oh my God. Like, so I'm embarrassed.
Since once I graduated from college, I have yet to really, well, maybe twice, I've used my political science degree.
I mean, like I do use my psych degree a lot because I'm very well versed in it, but I don't practice psychology. I just know a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
You
use dark psychology to persuade people to do things that they don't want to do. That's what you
do. Well, the thing, like, if I did go back, but I'm actually, I set up with my ChatGPT, self-taught social psychology course, and I'm actually following it like a syllabus, and I'm listening to like audio books, and I'm doing like a self-study, just because I'm fucking fascinated with this, like, especially now, because like it's not so much politics, it's like the psychology of it, like social psychology, that I'm like fascinated by, and I can't stop myself. So I'm like, I'm just gonna write myself a lesson plan, and I'm gonna study shit, and I'm doing it because I love psychology. Like, I love it. Like, I find it deeply fascinating. Because human beings are weird.
Yeah. There's such a need for it, though. Also, unfortunately, the need is for you to have a master's degree or higher to be able to break into a psychological field like therapy, or being a therapist, or a psychologist. Do research. My dad was a research psychologist.
But I went to USF. USF's a big research psychology school. That's where I learned all my research methods. I wrote my thesis on general and anxiety disorder, and using things like MDMA. That was my thesis. It was a very good thesis. I was very proud of it. But I'm not doing anything with it. I just have a bunch of debt.
If you're studying social psychology now, when you get to the bottom of all that research you're doing and you have questions that you haven't solved yet, and you could frame it in the way of a master's thesis.
I could, and unofficially.
There you go. You could be heading that way. I'd love to go back and get my doctorate.
To be fair, Kelly got published, and he has not he didn't go to school for geology, so
it's true.
I'm just saying, I just find
considered a geologist.
I'm hoping the ADHD does not get me distracted, because I'm in it now. I started my syllabus. I started with Demon Haunted World because that was like the basis, and now I'm moving into some other reading right now. So and I'm gonna. It's just like a very listen, I go, this is what you use ChatGPT for. Don't use ChatGPT to write your paper. You help it, like, okay, this is what I want to do, and you use it as a tool. So
you write your outline with it.
Yeah, write your outline, like, this is what I'm interested in, like, give me resources, because I've trained it that I want a bunch of like scientific, like really good sources. I will not take bullshit. Because that's what the algorithm, like, when I put stuff into Google, I automatically get like .orgs or .govs or .edus, because like Google knows, like, she's not gonna, like, she passes over all the bullshit. So
yeah, I agree.
Though I do know that I would only be like 2 searches away from like getting like flat earth stuff. Like, I'm so concerned if I start like looking up, I need a dummy account if I want to look up like weird conspiracy theories, because I don't want to screw up my algorithm.
But like, I do not doing research into conspiracy theories is a psychological.
It is a psychological phenomenon, and that leads into this whole discussion, because a lot of people have sort of a devotion to conspiracy theories and cult-like thinking, and it's not great. So we have talked. Okay, so I do need to go because I can smell my tacos and I'm starving. So
Tacos are good. We've been going for quite a long time now.
Yeah, we have. So but I'll be back. Like we touched on this topic. I don't think we kind of bounced around, but it is the way of talking to me. This is way
it's your neurospicy way of the.
It's my it is the neurospicy ADHD way. It is strong. I own it.
The ADHD is strong with this one. Yeah,
the ADHD is strong. I'm basically the Anakin of ADHD.
Couldn't leave without a Star Wars or a Star Trek reference.
Absolutely not. I'm a nerd.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. This is
fun. So watch Shaun of the Nonprofits with me.
Yeah, we do that together every once in a while. It's a lot of fun.
We do, and we're also really good friends, and we love the heck out of each other. And we're gonna hang out. We're gonna hang out at Back Cruise. It's gonna be so much fun.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. Excited. It was last year, and this is my second time, and I'm stoked.
This is my first time. I'm so excited.
There are going to be a few people who won't be there who were there last time. But...
Oh my god, it's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, it is. And so if you haven't bought your tickets yet.
buy your we still got Scott, we got to figure out where we're staying. Okay, so
I have a hotel reserved.
We're renting. Okay,
but I did say I would go in with that if you guys found a good place, because
we're gonna find a place where we are.
Yeah, because I'm in Extended Stay America, and they accept no cost cancellations till the day of. So
okay, we'll make it work. Okay, so what do I have coming up? I will tell you. Okay, so next Thursday I have Captain Deadpool on, and we're going to talk about biblical bullshit. So we're going to talk about that next week, and then David Teachout is going to be on the following week from Recovering from Religion. We're going to talk about religious trauma. He started a new religious trauma practice, so we're going to talk about the specialty, that as a particular specialty, and then Eli from the ACA will be on the weekend before Back Cruise, because that is my show before I leave to go on vacation.
So that's the next 3 weeks. Right? That's the Slackster.
That's the Slackster. So yeah, okay. Wonder Cat. So if you would like to be on the show, email me here. If you know someone would like to be on the show, email me here. Do that. Please like and subscribe. Do the thing. I love attention, so please give it to me. Comment, drive up the algorithm for me, even if it's just to say hi, because that's how.
Make sure it's over 8 words.
With the algorithm, y'all.
You need over 8 words so that it counts even more.
Yep.
So
yeah.
Comment.
Just write me a sentence. Say, Helen, you're the most amazing person ever. Perfect thing to say. Or that I'm the Anakin of ADHD. That also works. I wish everyone a really great week. Give someone a compliment. Stay skeptical. And I will see you all here next week. Bye. Thank you, John. Bye. Bye, Internet. Bye.
Bye.